game. Every sound, the art style, everything can be in service to this thing. Today I've been thinking hard about what I'm doing with this channel and what I'm doing on it. I spent quite a bit of time looking at other YouTubers, other developers on YouTube to see how they're using the platform to share and just to see what they're doing. So one developer of note that I came across was named Jonas Tyroler. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, Jonas, but he was pretty interesting to come across off the bat. His content was really, really good. But even more interesting was his content from day one. I dug deep into his first uploads and found some interesting stuff. I found him kind of going through a similar phase that I'm going through now, where he's just trying to document everything he's doing, and he doesn't really know what he's doing. He does a much better job than I am, but at least I feel. But yeah, it was really cool to see what he's doing on there and where he kind of came from and how he went through this process. So based on all of that internal debate that I've had all day, I've decided to today try to tackle a subject, figure out something to talk about and kind of get a point across and hopefully finish a few sentences along the way. The question of what a game is about has been on my mind for quite a while, and I've been thinking about it a lot. But it's been kind of tricky to put into words, so I figured we can talk about that today. I believe that the strength of a game idea can be roughly evaluated by answering this magic question, which is, what is your game about? Now, a game can have many answers to this question, and it can vary from person to person and developer to developer, and even evolve over time throughout development. But if you can really nail down some solid answers to this question, it can really help you nail down the design pillars of your game, the target audience, and most importantly, how your game is different from other games. If you're really lucky and you manage to nail down a core singular about that is above all the rest, then it can serve as a North Star for the rest of development and can be immensely valuable. Now I'll talk more about what makes a really good about, but first, remember Jonas? Well, today he uploaded a video detailing how his current project was having an identity crisis. In it, he talks about a lot of stuff that I've been thinking about on this subject. And at the end of the video, he asks, what is your game? Who is it for? Why will people want to play it? And what makes it stand out? He even responded to one of my comments with the magic question itself. What is your game about? Well, Jonas, let me try to answer that for you today. Actually, for all my preaching, the answer for my current project, Glass Cannon, isn't that strong. So today's a perfect opportunity to work that out. So luckily, I actually have a Miro board, as it's called. It used to be called Real-Time Board. But anyway, I have a page here with some of my notes from maybe a year ago. I'm not sure when I made this, but it was from earlier on in the process when I was thinking of Glass Cannon. So let's start by taking a look at that and see what I was thinking. Okay, so here on the board, the first thing that jumps out is this section here, skin in the game. This is mostly inspired by games like PUBG. I think PUBG was a little more fresh back when I made this. But it's also kind of inspired by games like Tarkov, Escape from Tarkov. In Escape from Tarkov, you have loot that if you die while you're in a raid, you lose it, and it's gone for good, for the most part. So you can invest in a lot of good gear to bring into a raid and then lose it all if you get shot. And in Battle Royale games, you have skin in the game because you've made it so far into the match. If you're in the top 10 situation, as it's called, it can be kind of nerve-wracking, and I think everybody who's enjoyed PUBG in the past has their early days where you're kind of sweating it out at the end of the game because you've made it so far and you're just so afraid of dying. So I really want there to be this fear of failure. I want it to mean something. So I think this is actually a pretty big pillar, as it's fairly unique. It's not something that all games do these days, and traditionally, like for arena shooters and stuff like that, it's not something that you see until you're in a competitive situation. That said, it's not North Star material because it's not. Other games have done it, and so it's not quite unique enough to serve as the sole purpose for this game's existence. Here's another section led by Battle Chess. So Danny from NoClip described the experience, the experience of like an arena shooter like Quake, with the words battle chess, and I think it really works well. I want there to be this wit versus wit and like this skillful challenge where you're trying to outsmart your opponent with maneuverability and stuff like that. That said, this is probably a bit of a smaller piece of the puzzle because it's something that all arena shooters, all FPSs and action games in general strive to do, or most of them do anyway. So it's not exactly the most unique piece, but it is an important one, and it serves the purpose. It serves, and is definitely needed to serve purposes above it. So I'm going to move that down here, and let's take a look at another one. So this is another piece inspired by Battle Royale games. So I think in multiplayer versus games, multiplayer competitive games that I've played anyway, coming back from my many days of Halo, is this unique story emergent gameplay where, like it says here, anything can happen. So like crazy shit happens all the time. You got warthogs flying over here, or you got this crazy story that you told your friend about how you died in a crazy way. For example, you know, you sniped somebody across the map and they fell out on an explosive barrel, and then the explosive barrel hit a traffic cone and it went and headshotted somebody, which it was really awesome in Halo 3 when they actually credited kills to traffic cones. But I think this is a pretty important thing again, but not exactly unique enough to serve as a big pillar. Now here's an interesting one over here. This I think could actually serve as a pretty high up in the hierarchy of answers to the question. And the reason for that is that not a lot of other games have really done this that I've seen, or no game has really pushed this concept really far. But one thing that's interesting to me is that competitive games seem to be really fun, or like the most fun in the first weeks that it comes out, when everybody's learning the game, learning the maps, and nobody really knows what's going on. Now you might say, Steph, I know the solution to this. Let's just procedurally generate levels. Great. But I think there's actually a balance to be struck here, because when you procedurally generate every level every time you play, you kind of lose some of the meaning behind the exploration and the mastery of that map. You can't really master a space that's going to disappear at the end of your match. So it might be really cool to have something where the maps or the content evolves somewhat regularly, but not too quickly. So I think it would be really cool to put out a totally new map every 2 weeks or every month, and have the game only set on that map, so that every 2 weeks you have kind of a restart of everybody's knowledge of it, and you can kind of remaster, and like you can come back every 2 weeks and have that experience of mastering a new map. I think if you pulled this off effectively, it could serve as a pretty unique selling point. I haven't seen any game kind of do that on this time scale of 2 weeks or a month. I think it could work really well, but unfortunately for Glass Cannon, I think it just falls way out of the scope. I'm really trying to get a game done this year so I can get something out. So unfortunately, while I would love to make this section really important and huge, it's also going to have to kind of go off to the side from now. I'm not sure if I'll be able to. I would like to pull it off, but I also would really love to get my first game out there just to have the experience of shipping something. Maybe this can come later. So the last section here that I have from a year ago is this, where finesse and viscerality and fast and snappy. I really want that like quick responsiveness of like a Geometry Wars, where you're fully in control of what you're doing, and you can really you could really use that to push like the skill ceiling as high as it can go, right? I'm also thinking of Rocket League here, where it's just like the controls are super tight and it's just insane what people can do with enough time put into the game. I would really love for that to come through in the game, but again, this isn't something unique to Glass Cannon, and it's really important, and it serves it's in service to like battle chess here, right? Like with finesse and tight controls and fast and snappy, that can make for really good battle chess. So it's definitely important, but it's not a selling point, and it's not a North Star. So I'm going to add 1 or 2 items that are on my mind. I don't know if they're the best, but let's give it a shot. So the first one I want to add is social, because I think pretty much the biggest reason why I'm interested in doing a VR game is for the social aspect. And working on PokerStars VR has really inspired me with that experience, like the social experience of it, right? Just creating a lobby and being able to sit at a table with your friends and hang out and play a game for hours on end is really awesome. Like, you can joke with each other, you can trash talk, you can there's a lot there in VR that you just can't get it anywhere else. So I think that's actually a pretty big item here. I'm just gonna throw it on. So I think this is a pretty big item, and it's not North Star material again, but it might be a big pillar. In addition to that, I'm trying to get this game on Quest, and I know that Oculus really loves to hear this stuff. So as far as selling points go, this is actually a pretty good one. The next big thing that kind of sets my game apart, I feel, is there being a competitive twin stick shooter. There is some attempts to do this, but ultimately I think a lot of them fail to the simplicity of the 2 dimensions in twin stick shooters. With traditional twin sticks, you really lose a lot of elements that are important to competitive games, that are just kind of like that you need 3D for. And so one of the interesting things about Glass Cannon, I feel, is that it brings that twin stick gameplay, that frantic, lots of bullets, crazy, near bullet hell style gameplay, and brings it into the 3rd dimension, where now you have 3D map depth and some learning to do, and you have some line of sight things. And ultimately, this is also helpful for the VR case, because this only really works in VR. I'm gonna put that down as competitive twin stick. So I think this is actually a pretty strong item, because there's not a lot of other competitive twin stick shooters. There's a lot of co-op stuff. Like, can you play co-op in Nuclear Throne? I think you can. But anyway, like that and Enter the Gungeon and all the other, dare I say, clones, but they're not clones. Other games in that genre, right? Most of them are PvE. To have an effective PvP with some really good battle chess going on, I think that could be a pretty good market separator. So looking at this board, there's quite a lot going on, and I don't quite have like a really strong core, like this is what the game is about yet. And I'm not sure I can get there today. But you can even see, like, even from this, like, this kind of looks like a fairly solid game, and this is why I kind of feel good about the game so far, and why I feel like I'm pursuing the project. Because even if you described a game that's like, hey, it's a competitive twin stick shooter, it's got some mechanics in there to where, like, so that you really have some skin in the game, and it's a social experience that you can hang out with your buddies and play with, and it's got a really strong, like, battle chess design. Like, you can really... There's a lot to the fighting, and it's fun to outsmart other people. You can kind of start to build a fairly strong pitch, or a fairly strong idea of the value of this game, but it's still not quite enough to like really put it like to really hook people. You know, I don't have that one huge hook. So I think that's something I'm gonna have to work on going forward. But for example, like if I wanted to make, like, let's say this Pokemon thing or this sentimental attachment, actually let's throw that in there because that's a better way to put it. Sentimental attachment, is that how you spell it? Is there a T in there? I don't know. Anyway, so if sentimental attachment was like the thing for this game, I would do this, right? And now everything else is, all of these other pillars or answers to the question are kind of in service to that. And I want to go through this just to like express the point of like, it makes decision making really easy. Like if you're deciding on like, hey, which one of these two items are kind of clashing with each other, which one do we get rid of, or how do we mediate that? It's really simple once you have something above it which says, hey, which one of these is in better service to this end goal, and that drills down to all the decisions. Like, what color is my dude gonna be? Well, which one makes more sentimental attachment, right? Should I include this mechanic or not? Well, which one supports more sentimental attachment at the end of the day? there's always like this, again, this North Star that can provide real direction for every design decision and discussion in the development of the game. Every sound, the art style, everything can be in service to this thing. Now, unfortunately, I don't think I have that North Star yet, but I'm definitely going to be thinking about this a lot going forward in the next couple of weeks, and I'll definitely update you if I figure that out, because that will be exciting. But so far, I'm feeling pretty good about the game. Here's what the game is about. It's kind of a splat map for now, but it's the best I got, and I think it's good enough to carry forward with the game. Let me know if you agree in the comments below. If you think this is a terrible, terrible idea and none of these abouts are interesting at all, please let me know, because it would be good to have outside feedback. Or let me know if you think this is really great and you would play a game described based on these terms. But anyway, that's my answer to the question, as long and vague and non-answery as it is. So hopefully this more focused and planned format and finished sentences brings a little bit more value to you, but I'm getting hopefully better at this every day. I'm still figuring this out, and I think this is one step forward. But thank you so much for watching, and thank you to those who have already kind of given me feedback. It's crazy for anybody to be watching my first videos. I think they're terrible, but it's really, really cool for people to show their support. So thank you, thank you, thank you, and until next time, I don't know how to exit these videos yet. This is my third take, but bye. See ya. See you later.